Hopefully most of you guys by this point have seen the debate between Alex O'Connor and David Wood at the Bless God Summit, the first ever Bless God Summit. Well, at this point, you'll be seeing different reactions to it and all that sort of stuff. And thank you for everybody who was there in person, which, by the way, there's a link pinned up, blessgodsummit.com if you want to go there to get the waiting list for the next Bless God Summit, which will be happening in 2026. And I want to hear from you guys who you think we should be having there. I wanted to look at just a couple parts in the debate. Not going to be very long, the special Sunday stream. And so if you're just tuning in live, let me know where you guys are watching from. Let me know how you guys overall think the debate went. Because I think there's a couple parts that we have to get into, we have to address. I'll tell you guys, I think David's statement on the opening was very, very, very strong. I think the Alex's last rebuttal round was very, very, very strong because he used the argument of the Greek word for worship and pointed to that same Greek word in the Septuagint, which is, I want to say, the Greek version of the Bible, of the Old Testament as well, and said, hey, this word is being used in the Old Testament. This Greek word that's used to worship Jesus is being used in the Old Testament, and that word is being used to extend worship to all sorts of people, which then this whole idea that Jesus receiving worship is bunk, because how could someone receive worship when you also see, I want to say he pointed to David worshiping the temple, and was it like Moses getting worship, different other creatures getting worship that were not Yahweh. And so his second rebuttal was good because it deals with this idea of only God alone can have worship. So I thought that was a good point. But let me try to do my best to summarize his argument. Jesus could not have been ontologically Yahweh, though he was not just some dude. That was what David Wood argued. So what you're saying is he's some dude and he's a bad communicator, which I think is preposterous. But Alex would disagree that Jesus was ontologically Yahweh, ontologically God Almighty. And sometimes Yahweh gets conflated with the Father because we don't think Jesus is the Father, because we see Jesus extending certain divine attributes to his disciples. And as the Father's in me, I will be in you, okay? And I thought that was interesting because I think this gets solved very easily if you have an understanding of the second coming and you have an understanding of the new heaven and new earth and what we're going to be doing on this side of eternity. And I actually posed this question to Alex, which will make all of my Eastern Orthodox brothers and sisters happy. So you should actually really go watch the full debate. But I thought the most interesting part of this was opening rounds, the dialogue. I mean, the open dialogue, definitely Alex dominated that, which I don't know why Wood didn't want to engage more. I think he said on the stream that he had a energy drink with sugar and crashed afterwards, and so he wasn't super engaging or wanting to lead the rebuttal round. The open dialogue round. So, but this idea that Jesus cannot be ontologically God because Jesus is referring to little gods, Elohims, just Elohims in the scriptures, which is another title for God in the Hebrew. So this is what I posed to Alex. I'm not sure how far you guys got into this question, into the debate, but I'll tell you guys my question for it. And then I got some other thoughts in terms of just the overall commentary around this conversation. Check this out,
Alex, sure. And I would love to hear your answer on this. I'm gonna throw a monkey wrench in this whole thing.
Alex wasn't expecting me to ask a question.
Go to the first question. I got one question for Alex, sure. and I would love to hear your answer on this. I'm gonna throw a monkey wrench in this whole thing. You've brought this up before, the idea in Eastern Orthodoxy of theosis or deification. Does that solve the dilemma that you're referring to? Theosis, the process of humans attaining likeness to and union with God, participating in the divine energies, divine nature, and experiencing community with the Holy Trinity.
Okay, so theosis, deification, it sounds crazy on the surface if you're not Eastern Orthodox, but it's really not, and I kind of share why. We had Father Hares on, who said, God became man so that man might become God, lowercase g. Okay, now that might sound crazy to some of you guys, but Alex's a lot of argument was that how can Jesus be Yahweh if Jesus is telling his disciples they will be in him the way he is in the Father, and they'll be able to forgive sins, and they'll be able to cast out demons, and they'll be able to raise the dead, so on and so forth.
If we're adding the Eastern Orthodox position, which is within the realms of Orthodoxy, as Protestants would probably call that glorification, right?
Glorification, which means the same thing as deification and theosis. So if you're Protestant, you believe in this process of becoming one with God in heaven in the afterlife. We just title it glorification, right? And I know it's not crazy, Daniel. I'm saying it's crazy to the outside ear if you don't know what you're looking, if you're not understanding the term. So if you just tell someone God became man so that man become God, it starts sounding like people become God. But we're not talking about being God ontologically. We're not talking about becoming God Yahweh. We're talking about becoming one with his presence and so on and so forth. So we believe this in Protestant, Catholic, and Orthodox theology. It's called, in Protestant circles, we would call it glorification, right?
Right. They're giving very specific language. Your dilemma is Jesus is God, and then he's given this godlike authority to his disciples. Mm-hmm. Could you concede potentially that solves the dilemma?
Only if that also describes how Jesus relates to his own Father. Because, of course, constantly Jesus is using the word kathos, or kathos, which means just as, in the same way as. So, sure.
So what does it mean then to be just as, right? So Alex is really leaning into this idea that Jesus is saying, I'm just as I am in the Father, you will be in me, right? And so that's kind of the trip up for him.
Or maybe this is talking about a kind of elevation of humans to share in the likeness of God in some other kind of way, but
deification.
Deification. But then Jesus would have to see himself in the same way, which is in so many words what I'm trying to say Jesus was in fact doing. So yes.
Okay. So it's an interesting answer from him, because I feel like if we leaned into that, could have been a more interesting conversation. Perhaps we've seen Glenn Scrivener's video. If you guys haven't seen it, you really should go watch it. Speak Life, the YouTube channel, Glenn Scrivener, and he talks about how we become sons of God, we become children of God because Jesus is the Son of God. Now, that doesn't make us ontologically Yahweh. Only Jesus can be ontologically Yahweh. And I'm also interested that we didn't see David Wood go into Revelation. I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. How can Jesus be created or not be ontologically Yahweh if he is the actual beginning and he is the actual end? That was curious because I actually talked to Alex about that at dinner time. So that was a good point. Now, shout out to my man, God Logic. He asked a great question, and my man Ray Rock did a great job in terms of filtering these questions. You guys saw the line was long, and Ray Rock was able to ask everybody their question ahead of time and got God Logic's question prioritized, and Jared. We'll look at some of these. So just keep in mind how you think this debate with. You guys are all critical thinkers. You guys all have the ability to think for yourselves. Think of how this debate went. Think of David Wood doing a great job. I think David Wood did amazing. I think David Wood made a really good arguments with the two gods in heaven paradigm, which we're going to come back to in a second, because Alex makes it seem as if there's this heresy and no one believed it and it was this fringe view. We're going to come back to that in a moment, right? But, did I say two gods? Excuse me, two powers in heaven. David Wood made a great argument with those two powers in heaven, and I think he did. I think he did great. I think it was a great argument because it was a holistic argument through the Old Testament and New Testament. And where David lands is that, the Hebrew view at the time allowed for a two powers, Yahweh on heaven, Yahweh on earth paradigm. We see it all throughout the Old Testament, and David did a great job of driving that point home. Now, Avery God Logic asked a stellar question, and I think it's fair to say kind of gets Alex to concede that it sure does seem like Jesus is God in an ontological sense in a very specific passage of Scripture. Check this out.
Got a question
sorry,
from Avery. All right.
Okay. All right, for sure. What's going on, guys? So this is a question for Alex, man. How you doing, man?
Hey,
you mentioned,
God Logic.
Yes, sir. You mentioned in Hebrews 1 where, God is speaking, or God spoke to our, through prophets. Now he speaks to us through his son. And you're saying, where was Jesus then, back then? He should have been active. Mm-hmm. And so, regarding Hebrews, I just want to read you this and get your thoughts on this, okay? It's Hebrews 11. Regarding Moses, it says, by faith, Moses, and I'm going to just skip down to 25 and 26 for time, choosing rather to be mistreated with the people of God than to enjoy the fleeting pleasures of sin, he considered the reproach of Christ greater wealth than the treasures of Egypt, for he was looking to the reward. So how is it that Moses can be considering Christ's disapproval if Christ wasn't around for him to disapprove?
Yeah, that is a great question. So Christ there, he regarded disgrace for the sake of Christ as greater value than the treasures of Egypt because he was looking ahead to his reward. Now, that's something which I think, I think it's a good point. I mean, of course, I can offer a Christological interpretation of this, which sort of says that Christ is promised as the Redeemer of mankind, and we're looking at this in retro. Where's he gone? Oh, there you are. And we're looking, just dropped it and left. And I suppose we're looking at this in retrospect, and he regarded disgrace for the sake of Christ. Yeah, I do think that in this instance, Hebrews is probably presenting Jesus as, I don't know about the angel of Yahweh, but certainly we're looking at a high Christology in Hebrews, yeah.
So close.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
All right, let's go to the next question because we only got.
He's so close, guys.
But I have for what it's worth, I have no problem saying that Hebrews has a high Christology. That's kind of not an issue to me. But I think it is interesting to suggest that as a retort to the idea of the angel of Yahweh being Jesus, I think that is an excellent point. Yeah.
Angel of God being Jesus and being Yahweh is an excellent point. So I had this conversation with Alex about Hebrews 1 and the Psalms being used to cite and refer to Jesus in Hebrews 1. If you look at those Psalms, there's a my Yahweh, Yahweh, my Yahweh. There's two Yahwehs in the Hebrew passages, which God Logic actually has also done a great use of that passage. And I think he had a conversation with Bryson Gray in that. So let's come back to this idea of the two powers heresy. By the way, Alex kept calling it a heresy. Now, David Wood did a great job explaining that this was common in Jewish thought. This was common in Jewish theology. And Alex said, well, no, how do you know? How do you know that the priest who was mad at Jesus for claiming equality with God, how do you know that's what he believed? So this is a gentleman, super cool guy, who had the receipts for this. Excuse me.
It depends on how deep the form goes, but form and then descend.
I'm going to sneak this last one in here.
Sure, fine by me.
By the way, great question from the gentleman.
Appreciate it. So this one's for Alex primarily. Okay, so in the Babylonian Talmud, Sanhedrin 38b, there's a...
So he says, I'm going to take you to the Talmud. David earlier and others, including on Glenn Scrivener's video, I believe it was Glenn Scrivener's video, cited Jewish sources that believe in this two powers view. Now, Alex says this is a heresy. The issue is we're not looking at Jewish teaching on this of what they were teaching 2,000 years ago and the sources on that. We're filtering this through the lens of Jewish teaching today, which has a more of a Unitarian view of Yahweh, right? It's a one God view of Yahweh. When in the Old Testament, we see that there is the two powers situation happening. And so he pulls up the Talmud a couple hundred years after Jesus, and they're still debating this. They're still discussing this, okay?
Discussion, a rabbinic discussion about Daniel chapter 7, and they're asking about the verse, I looked till thrones, plural, were placed. It says, one throne is for him, and one throne is for David. This is the statement of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Yosei said to him, Akiva, blah, blah, blah. Rather, the correct interpretation is that both thrones are for God, as one throne is for justice, and the other is for mercy. So why would
there's two thrones in this Talmud discussion that two different high-profile rabbis are having.
Rabbis, because you're asking about what did the high priest interpret the passage to mean. So why would the later rabbis of the 2nd century or of the late 1st century have come up with an interpretation saying the Son of Man is God after the advent of Christianity?
Yeah, because you'd have to then say that Christianity created this view of the two heavens heresy, quote unquote, and then the Jews are responding to it versus saying, no, the two heaven, I keep saying two heavens, two powers heresy, versus saying, no, that two powers view was there, and that's how the theology around the Trinity formed, and we continue on in this tradition. And so the Jews are who overcorrected to push against the Christian view that Jesus is God.
Right, okay, so the passage says that there are two, this is from Sanhedrin, right?
Yes.
That there are two thrones, one for justice, one for mercy?
Yes, and this is referring to the rabbinic concept of Hamidot, the two forms of God, justice and mercy, Elohim and Adonai.
Sure. Okay, so in this interpretation, which is Jesus and which is the Father?
Well, I mean,
What I mean to say is, if this is the interpretation in mind,
Well, I mean, we could say justice and mercy. You could say the Father is justice and Jesus is the mercy that deals with the sins of humanity. But that's not even the point of the conversation or the question here.
But you might need to clarify your point.
which is the Father and which is Jesus? Justice or mercy? Which is which?
no. I mean, no. I'm simply asking because you said that you said it was implausible to suggest that the high priest would have interpreted that the Son of Man in Daniel 7 is
Say what
God.
you said at the beginning first about who said what and what the response was.
So Rabbi Akiva said, one throne is for the Holy One and the other is for David, meaning the Messiah. And then Rabbi Yosei rebukes him and says, no. Both thrones, the Ancient of Days
Both
and the Son of Man,
thrones
are for God. So that would be identifying the Son of Man as God.
I see. And so the Son of Man.
So it wasn't uncommon because they're discussing this, and this is hundreds of years after Jesus. They're still fighting and dealing with this within Jewish orthodoxy.
And in this instance, is mercy and God is justice, or is it the other way around?
That's all Rabbi Yosei says.
But he then says that he then explains what the two thrones are for, right? What does he say the two thrones are for?
He says one is for justice
And one is for
mercy.
mercy. So if the two thrones are
no, I just want to
for the
put-
Ancient of Days and Son of Man, the Ancient of Days is justice and the Son of Man is mercy?
No.
or
Yeah,
what?
let me clarify. Let me clarify.
maybe
Yeah. So the point is when it talks about the two thrones,
Yeah.
the two thrones being brought, that Rabbi Akiva says, okay, one is for God and one's for the Messiah, and someone else responds, whoa, you cannot say that one of these thrones is for the Messiah. They both have to be for God. They both have to be for God. So they're interpreting the thrones as both having to be for God, and they sort of describe.
No, I'm 2xing speed just so I get through the footage. It's not 2x, is it? It's 1.25. Chill out, Sam. It's not 2x.
Describe it as God's attributes are on these thrones. The point is,
That's why I don't know why anybody groaned at the question I was asking. If it's God's attributes which are on the throne, and this is being discussed in the
this is a
context of the
later
Son of
commentary.
Man.
The point is, when you say this is a human being, that the Son of Man is a human being, Rabbi Akiva said, hey, that's the Messiah. And other people said, whoa, you can't say that because this is clearly a throne for the divine, but there's only one God, and therefore both thrones are for God, and we got to separate the attributes.
Maybe I'm still just mishearing this, but after saying that,
And by the way, to be fair to Alex, I think he might respond to this. I think from his view, perhaps because this is later, this is after Jesus, that this is not as relevant to him. But the idea is that this was impossible to view that the Son of Man, the Messiah in Daniel 7 could be divine. And that's what these guys are arguing about, these two rabbis, hundreds of years after the fact.
after saying that, the explanation is that the two thrones, one is for justice, one is for mercy, which you described as God's attributes.
Yo, what up, Mythvision? Hey, bro, shout out to Mythvision Podcast and us. Hey, would you be down to participate in one of these debates someday? Hopefully you could see the vibe and the environment is very welcoming and, I don't know, safe. I don't know what the right word is, but structured, orderly, opening statements. Let me know, because we're thinking about the next summit. And by the way, if you guys want to be first on the list, there's a joining the wait list. I actually went by the venue today, the Dream venue, which is insane. We're going to keep it here local. So if you guys want more information, blessgodsummit.com. But I want to have another debate and do it on night one. So let me know, Mythvision, if you'd be open to it in the conversation. Let's go back to this back and forth here.
Sorry, I shouldn't take the mic. So
Cross Bible, shout out to you. No, I don't have a whole lot of time to go through all the questions. I thought your question was great. I thought that you asked a great question. I just wanted to get to this meat of the discussion in terms of, do the scriptures claim to be God, and then did the Jews have a framework for this? Because that was David's argument. I think your answer and your entire scriptural thing was fantastic.
So if I have been brought back up to clarify my question.
Sure.
I'm so sorry. I've been brought back up to clarify my question. So
Now, again, Alex could have been, jet lagged. He's on a different time zone. Maybe he genuinely just wasn't following along with the point of the question. I thought it was pretty, and this so we kind of spent the last couple minutes trying to really help him understand what we're saying here.
Come back.
Alex, what I'm asking is, so which figure is justice and which one is mercy is not really it's not really relevant here. I'm just saying it's rather that this is showing that rabbis after the advent of Christianity were recognizing the Son of Man in Daniel 7 as an explicitly divine figure.
Right.
Because when Rabbi Akiva says, "Oh, it's the Messiah," he says, "No, both figures, the two distinct figures, are God."
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. So wait. So after the advent of Christianity. So when are you talking about? You said after the advent of Christianity. When
He's
are you talking
saying
about?
that they've had this argument already, and that within the Jewish Talmud, they're arguing about this throne for two gods.
The point is, there are rabbis who interpreted the Son of Man as
God.
Okay. Look. For fear of.
Because you said it was implausible. That's what he was responding.
Yeah,
So earlier you said it was implausible.
I understand that part. For fear of further misunderstanding and further groans from the audience, I fear I would want to read that passage on paper in front of me, which maybe... Where's he gone? There you are. Can you speak to me after class?
Great response. Great response.
Let's give him a round of applause, y'all.
Oh my gosh. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes.
Yeah. So anyway, shout out to everybody that was there in person, making it happen. So hey, hopefully you've seen the whole debate at this time. I think it's fair to say that it was a great debate, very respectful debate, a lot of charity in the debate. And if I'm you, I would just be cautious of anyone out there that is spreading false information about David Wood taking an L, about David Wood losing, about David Wood not performing well. I think that's hogwash at this point. And so be cautious of the creators that are saying this sort of stuff because I think it's disingenuous and false. I think David Wood did really well. I think Alex also did really well, but I think David Wood did great. It was a great argument. And I think Alex had one stronger rebuttal round towards the end, and then Alex definitely dominated the open dialogue, which I'll take this one on chin. It should have been a cross-examination, 15 minutes for David, 15 minutes for Alex. It didn't go that way, and I think it's fine, but I think that next time we will do that. But to in any way, shape, or form allude that David lost or didn't do well, I think is quite a reach, and I would say false and just spreading nonsense. And so I would be very cautious if you're following a creator that's propagating this sort of nonsense because of what people told them, okay? We need a God Logic and Alex debate. I mean, they talked afterwards. I don't know if we're going to run Alex back a second time. We would love him to come back. But I think this was fun, and we're going to do it again. I don't know who we're going to do it again. There's all types of folks that I'm reaching out to, like, again, Myth Visions here in the chat. I've reached out to Dan McClellan. There's all types of people. Logic had a conversation with Jacob. I don't remember his name. Forgive me, the Mormon guy. They had a great conversation. I thought that was a fantastic conversation that came out on God Logic's channel. And so I'm down to have that conversation if Logic and our friend Jacob, the LDS friend Jacob, want to come back and do a night one debate. I would love that. I would love that. And hopefully we can structure it in a way where it's exciting for everybody. We're trying to get Glenn Scrivener out. Yeah, we're trying to get Glenn Scrivener out. But yeah, I think we're going to keep moving forward and scaling the Blessed God Summit. I hope you guys who missed it this year, who weren't sure what we were doing, will be more open to coming in person next year. Batman, that's exactly what I'm working on right now behind the scenes. And we might even move it up and do a smaller event. I don't really have a desire to bring in Muslims personally, just because of all the drama with DebateCon. I think I'd rather stay away from that. But we will do this again. And again, maybe we'll do a smaller event before this. The idea is like these conversations can and should be able to happen without one side getting demolished and dominated. Like, that's so cringe to me. It dehumanizes people. Even people who I think are wrong should still be treated with dignity, respect, and kindness. Why? Because they're image bearers of God, and we as Christians are called to exhibit the fruit of the Spirit. It's that simple. And so if you are fixated on anything other than that, you're a weirdo and you're cringe to me. I think we should have people come together who love the Lord and are able to honor each other. I don't think we're going to go to the East Coast next year. I think we're going to keep it in California. Maybe if we crush another one in California, we'll open it up and go to the East Coast like for, 6 months, 8 months later. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, the posture, what's up, Michael? I see you, man. Appreciate you being here. The posture is definitely one of humility, one of love, one of respect, one of dignity, one of honor, and we're going to continue doing that. And shout out to Modern Day Debates, because they actually are the ones who had this title. They are the ones who started this process, and they got them to negotiate on theme, and then unfortunately it couldn't happen. And so we're going to be doing more debates, but they do a great job in terms of everything they got going on with their debates. So if you want to see some more spicy debates, Modern Day Debates got those on lock. They do a killer job with some of the more contentious stuff. I'm not really looking to have stuff too contentious. The thing that was unique about this debate is that everyone came into town early. Everyone was well rested. Everyone got to hang out before. There's a video of me giving Alex a birthday cake and us singing happy birthday to him when he was out at lunch with David Wood and John McCrae. And so that's the vibe that we want to have at these events. And we're going to keep doing that. So blessgodsummit.com to join the wait list for the next one. I'm hoping to have it next April 2026. Same 3 days, some of the same speakers. And then this year, night 1 will be the debate night. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, I'm super excited. Yeah, Alex Insurance got to get him to Cali more. Yeah, I'd love to have him back. Where is the next summit? It'll be here again. If I get my dream venue locked in, which again I went by there today, it'll be here. It'll be even nicer. Maybe we'll come back to the Westin. We'll see. But it's gonna be fantastic. So join the wait list. And what we'll do on the wait list, by the way, is our goal is we're gonna get more sponsors. We're gonna try to decrease the general admission price. And probably increase the VIP price because we went above and beyond to honor our VIPs. And so if you want to be the first to get that, sign up for the waiting list. Ruslan, do you think it's time for a greater LDS debate? Their message seems so pervasive and they support each other strong online. I see a lot of confusion between LDS and Christian. Yeah, I'm down. I just said I'm down to host a debate with Jacob. Jacob wanted to debate the Trinity. And so I'm down to host. Oddly enough, the Mormon view of Jesus is a lot similar to what Alex seems to believe about who Jesus was, that he's not ontologically Yahweh, but he is a God or divine to some degree. It's a lot of the same conversation that Dan McClellan is having with Inspiring Philosophy on Mark 2. And if Jesus is being claimed to be ontologically God or just a God or a type of divine figure, it's an interesting conversation, and we had some of it behind the scenes. That picture you saw of all of us at In-N-Out after, I think it was after this debate. We had some of the conversation, and so yeah, we're down to have that conversation with Jacob. I think his conversation with God Logic was great, and you guys should go check that out on God Logic's channel. I thought they did a great job. Again, Keith, I'm going to stay away from bringing on any Muslims until I feel like I have solid rapport and a good faith approach with Muslims. I don't think I have that right now, to be honest with you. By good faith, those of you guys that don't know what good faith simply meaning I believe about you. I believe the best about you. I don't believe you have ill intentions. I don't believe you're trying to be dishonest. I think in this conversation, both Alex and David Wood extended that to each other. They extended, I believe the best about you. I don't think this is a bad faith conversation. I don't think this is intentionally deceptive, intentionally manipulative. And we're just trying to understand each other to get clarity. Those are debates I want to host. So, yeah. And yeah, in terms of, you guys keep asking for, gentlemen, I've said this privately, I've said this publicly, there will be no collaborations with Sam of any sort in any near future, in any capacity, until Sam personally apologizes to me and shows fruits of repentance. He's unhinged. He's publicly disrespected me. It's disgusting. And yeah, we're not going for it. So if you're a Sam fanboy, this ain't the spot for you. Okay, this is not the spot for you. And so I'm not going to ban you the way he does when he melts down anytime anyone challenges him. But yeah, don't come here demanding him. No, like the dude has repeatedly just shown himself to be a completely unhinged maniac with regards to how he carries himself online. And I would not platform that because I think he makes all of us look bad. And so again, I'm going to put some of you guys in and get you out of here. All right. So yeah, no request for that. That will not be happening. I need a personal apology and I need fruit of repentance. I need him to show fruit of repentance because at this point he's disrespected and dehumanized so many people, including myself. And I'm just not going to tolerate that. We're not going to play that game. And by the way, I've tried to walk him off the ledge multiple times. I've tried to get him to not crash out multiple times. The disrespect across the board. You guys think that stuff's cute. You think it's cool that he calls people's mother whores and all that sort of stuff. But that to me shows this dude is having a serious mental health crisis, perhaps. And And I'm genuinely concerned for dude's soul. Like I'm concerned that a dude can open his prayers and then melt down every stream and cuss people out and not exhibit any fruit of the spirit anytime somebody challenges him in his chat, and then run from debates. JP wants that smoke. JP's been chasing him. He doesn't want to debate Sam. So I would need a public apology. I would need him to show fruit of repentance, and I would need him to debate JP publicly, preferably in a structured format before there's any sort of communication between me and him, because I just think he's wild. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, it's a complete disaster. Complete disaster. So, all right, guys, I got to get out of here. Appreciate you guys. Happy Sunday. Hope you guys are all doing well. Again, blessgodsummit.com for more information on the next one. It will not be in Florida. It will not be on the East Coast. It will be here again. Now, if we crush one here again and we don't lose a bunch of money here again, then maybe we will do a regional one somewhere else. All right? Maybe we'll do a regional one somewhere else. So we're out of here. We love you guys. Peace.